Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam kuru me deva sarvakaryeshu sarvada. Saraswati namastubhyam varade kamarupini vidyarambham karishyami siddhir bhavatu me sada. Samasta jana kalyane niratam karunamayam namami chinmayam devam sadgurum brahma vidvaram mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat tamaham bande paramananda madhavam paramananda madhavam. Okay. All right. So let us read the verses we covered last time, verses 34 and 35. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninastatvadarshinaha yajñatvana punarmoham evam yasyasi pandava yena bhutanyasheshena Drakshasyatman yathomai. Okay, so we are on chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, and chapter 4 is Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. And now we are in the section of how knowledge can be gained. And so what we saw last week was verse 34, which is the Bahiranga Sadhana, which is three things. The first thing is pranipatena, that humility, going with humility, approaching this knowledge with humility. The second thing is pariprashnena, approaching the teacher with the right kind of inquiry. Pari, as we saw, means one has examined the world, seen the limitations of the world, and has realized I'm not getting what I want from this world, so I want something deeper, and I want to be able to know what that is. So pariprashnena. Then sevaya means the service to the guru or the teacher. Why? So that there's a proper tuning. With anything, when you teach anybody anything, when we learn anything from anybody, there has to be a proper tuning. Proper tuning so that the mind of the student can come to the mind of the level of the mind of the teacher. And so the level of the mind of the teacher can come to the level of the mind of the student. So it's like the student's mind has to be raised a little bit, and the teacher's mind has to be tuned to meet the student where they are at and then bring them higher. So this is the kind of tuning that comes in the seva. This is the kind of tuning wherein the teacher gets to know, okay, this is the kind of student that there is, and this is how best the knowledge will benefit them. The knowledge will touch them. The knowledge will reach them. And so there are these three things prescribed. What is the glory of this knowledge? Why should we gain this knowledge of self? So verses 35, 36, and 37 reveal the glory of this knowledge. And last time we saw verse 35, where it said, Yajñatva means knowing this, knowing which knowledge, knowledge of the self. Which knowledge of the self? That I am the actionless self amidst all action, right? Karamani akarma yaf pashyet. I am the actionless self amidst all the action. And also Brahmarpanam Brahmahabhi. I am that one Brahman expressing as his whole world. Having known that deeply, then what happens is na punar moham evam yasyasi. That moha, that delusion will never again come. So having truly realized oneself, one will never be deluded again. There should never be a doubt, will I forget this knowledge? Will I become ignorant again? Once we get it fully, then we will never ever forget it. Because this knowledge is much deeper than thought. It penetrates into our entire being. So in the end of Panchadashi, chapter 2, there's a very beautiful question, that what if somebody is sick? Somebody has something wrong with their brain. They have amnesia. They have something in their brain that they cannot remember. They cannot think properly. Does that mean that they become ignorant again? No, because the knowledge has penetrated deeper than thought. It becomes one with us. So knowing this, na punaha moha yasyasi. One will not get deluded again, and one will have this grand vision. Drakshasi, you will see what? Yena bhutani asheshena. You will see all these beings, atmani, in one's own self, atho mayi, and in God. So we will see all beings in ourselves and in God. Meaning we will recognize our oneness with Bhagavan. That the awareness in me and the awareness in God is the exact same. There is only oneness. And one beautiful prayer in Vedanta is Ishwaro Gururat Neti Murti Bheda Vibhagine. Even if Ishwar, Guru, and Atma, the self, it seems like they're all different forms. Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya. They are all like space. They are all like space, one all-pervading space, although they appear as different names and forms. And that is known as Dakshina Murti. Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. So the grand realization of this knowledge is that Guru, God, and the very self are one. There is no difference. The difference being only in the name and form. This is the glory of knowledge. The knowledge of non-duality, non-difference. It's not just knowing oneness, it's being oneness, feeling that oneness. Okay. Now today we will move on to the next. Verse number 36. What is another glory of this knowledge? Api chedasi papebhyaha.
Api chetasi pavebhyaha
Sarvebhyah papakrittamaha.
Sarvebhyah papakrittamaha
Sarvam jnanaplavenaiva.
Sarvam jnanaplavenaiva
Vrijinam santarishyasi.
Vrijinam santarishyasi
Api chedasi papebhyaha. Sarvebhyah papakrittamaha. Sarvam jnanaplavenaiva. Vrijinam santarishyasi. Api, even if Papakrittamaha. Papakrittamaha, one is the most sinful. Papebhyaha sarvebhyaha, one is the most sinful person amongst all sinners. Sarvam vrijinam, all sins, santarishyasi, one will be able to cross through all sins, the ocean of all sins, you can cross that. How? Jnana plavena eva, only by the boat of knowledge. So even if you are the most sinful of all sinners, Sri Krishna says, yet you shall verily cross all sins by the raft of knowledge. So this is a great, great declaration Sri Krishna makes. Gurudev says, even if you have a PhD in sins, even if you are the worst of the sinners, but by knowledge, we can cross over. So first, let us look at what is this sin. Gurudev very beautifully defines it in the book. It's on my page 107. He says, sin, we have already seen, is an act of the ego which has grown forgetful of its divine nature. When an individual acts in his own delusion, catering to his matter envelopments with the hope that thereby he will come to get perfect bliss, those actions are called sin. So first, let's look at the worldly sense of sin, then we'll look at a deeper sense, okay? Worldly sense of sin is called papa. What is this papa? When we commit adharma, adharma means things that take us away from God or away from the path of truth. In very brief, things that take us away from God, take us away from the path of truth, that's called adharma. So when one commits adharma, something wrong, something that takes us away from the path, three things happen. One, at the physical plane, something bad happens. Let's say we hit somebody. Let's say we hit somebody. So physically, something bad happens, right? That person gets hurt. Then psychologically, something also happens. The mind gets very disturbed. The mind gets agitated, whether it's anger, whether it's guilt, whether it's regret, the mind gets agitated. The other person's mind also gets agitated. The third result is what we call papa. It is posterior. So one is a physical result, one is a psychological result, one is a posterior result. This papa, we won't see it. But it will come to manifest at some point in time. And what does it manifest as? Dukkha. It manifests as sorrow. So what is the trend? When we commit adharma, something wrong, we will get papa or sin, and this sin will manifest in its own time. And how does it manifest? As dukkha or sorrow. So this is what happens when we do something wrong. Now, what happens when we do something right? So when we do something right, when we do dharma, an action that takes us towards God, towards the truth, towards the path, again, three results happen. Let's say we are sitting in satsang, right? So physically, what's happening? Physically, the body is being steadied and being free from disturbances. Psychologically, the mind is being calmed, being refreshed, gaining knowledge. And later, the unseen result, punya, at some point will come to manifest as sukha or joy. There's an unseen result. So again, there's three things that will happen. One physical, one psychological, one posterior. That punya will come to manifest. And I will feel a sense of joy. So normally, this dharma and adharma, adharma leads to sin and dharma leads to merit. This is what we normally say. Now here in the commentary, Adi Shankaracharya ji says something so beautiful. He says that, listen, dharma api iha mumukshoho papamuchyate. That even for a mumukshu, a seeker of liberation, dharma is also papa. Right action is also papa. It's also a sin. Why? Because there's the stink of doership. There's the stink of doership. So here, sin is not a wrong act. What he's saying here by sin, sarvam vrajana, means doership. That doership, that one crosses through knowledge. Because even when we do something good, what happens? We get an ego boost, right? Many times when we do something good, we get an ego boost. We think we're so great. We become proud, and then we tend to put others down. All kinds of things happen when we feel that we did something good. And so that's why I had mentioned the other day in our class that when we were very young, our Bal Vihar teacher told us, forget the good that you have done to others. Forget about it. If you and I have done something good for other people, forget it. Forget it, because it's just pampering and flattering the ego. So don't even think about it. I used to think that, okay, when you do something good for others, get a star or like check mark. Yes, I did this, I did that. This is nice for children. But when we grow up, whatever good we did, forget about it. Forget about it, because it's just fueling the ego. So here, at the higher level, even dharma, even a dharmic act leads to sin because of the doership. And that's why, if you see in Kathopanishad, Nachiketa said, you tell me that which lies beyond dharma and beyond adharma. Nachiketa is not asking for dharma, he's asking what's beyond dharma and what's beyond adharma. So in this way, he says that whoever is the worst of all sinners, whoever he may be, she may be, whoever that person may be, through the knowledge of the self, the removal of doership, the removal of enjoyership, the removal of the ego, then one is able to cross over the ocean of sin. So sin doesn't lie now. Many times, we ask this question, is it the action or is it the motive that makes a sin, right? So here, very clearly, it's doership that makes it. And that's exactly what I read, from Gurudev, where he says, sin is an act of the ego, which has grown forgetful of its own divine nature. That is called sin. Now, a question might come, how does knowledge destroy sins? Right? How does knowledge destroy sins? How does knowledge destroy this sin of doership? How does this all work? Because I'm thinking, as a seeker, I have done so much bad karma. Some good karma I've done, but you should see my past record. I have done so many crazy things. Now, what will I do? How will I make up for that? Does this path of knowledge have a place for me? So now, let us see Sri Krishna's beautiful answer. This verse 37 is also very, very important. Okay? Yathai samidhognihi.
Yathaidhamsi samigdhognihi.
Bhasmasat kurute Arjuna.
Bhasmasat kurute Arjuna.
Jnanagni sarvakarmani.
Jnanagni sarvakarmani.
Bhasmasat kurute tatha.
Bhasmasat kurute tatha.
Yathai damsi samidhognihi. Bhasmasat kurute Arjuna Jnanagni sarvakarmani Bhasmasat kurute tatha. So what he says here, yatha, just as edhamsi. Edhamsi is actually wood, pieces of wood. Samidha agnihi, by a blazing fire, a well-kindled fire. Bhasmasat kurute. Bhasmasat means into ashes. It's made into ashes. So just as a well-kindled fire makes wood into ashes, tatha, in the same way, jnanagni, that fire of knowledge, sarva karmani, all the karmas, bhasmasat kurute, it turns into ashes all of the karmas. So as the blazing fire reduces wood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge reduce all actions, all karmas to ashes. So first, again, let's just think about this for a moment. How is it possible that my entire storehouse of karma is destroyed with knowledge? How is it possible, and what does this mean? So first, when we're talking about karma, okay, when we're talking about karma here, we really mean the results of all of our actions, right? The results of our actions. And here, now I'm going to show you this chart. So it becomes very, very clear the three types of karmas that we have. And then what happens to jnani? Then we will, we will think about it a little bit more. So here, so now when we use the term karma, karma sometimes means actions, but here the results of actions. And we know we have three types of karma, three types. One is called sanchita, the second prarabdha, and the third agami. Sanchita means all the results of actions that we accrued from many, 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 many lives. So where is this? This is in my subtle body. This is in my sukshma sharira. There is the results of all actions that I have accrued from many, 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 many lives. This is one kind of karma. So you can say this is like past karma. From that, a portion fructifies. And the results of actions which are fructifying now in the present, that's called prarabdha. So from that sanchita, a portion fructifies, and I am experiencing that now in the present. That's called prarabdha. So that can be like my present karma. Agami is now future karma. I'm doing, because out of this sanchita, right, out of this sanchita, a portion of prarabdha came. And then from this prarabdha, now I'm also doing actions and results will come. Those are called agami. So results of actions which will accrue in the future. This is called agami. So this one is past, this one is present, and this one is future. So let's say now I am doing something. The result of this will accumulate in the future. That goes to agami. What happens to that agami? Some of it goes back to sanchita, some of it comes to prarabdha. Okay. Now, for the one who does not realize the truth, let us say, I do not know the self, I do not gain this knowledge in this life. What happens to me? I do not get to see the fulfillment of knowledge in this life. What happens to me? I have to take birth again in another body, in another place, in another family, in another area. That jiva again has to come back, right? And what about my prarabdha karma? I am affected by my prarabdha. whatever is happening now, I feel very affected. I feel very, I feel like I'm going through so much prarabdha karma right now. What happens to agami? Future results again will come, right? And some will give results to future birth. Some will affect me here and now, right? So I'm going to stop sharing this for a moment. So just see this now. For one who is ignorant, what happens? We feel like we're stuck in this cycle of karma. Because I have this endless source of karma that again, I have to go through again and again and again and again. So I feel like there's no way out. And whatever is happening to me now, my prarabdha karma that is causing certain situations in life, I feel so affected by it. And not only that, I'm so worried, what does my future karma hold? So somebody who hasn't gained this knowledge feels quite stuck, feels quite like, how do I maneuver? How do I get through this life? But now think for a moment, who does karma belong to? So there are three options. Does karma belong to Atma, the self? Does karma belong to Karta or the doer? Or does karma belong to the instrument or Karana? Now, I'll give you an example. Let us say I am writing a book. I'm writing a book, yes? In this simple act of writing a book, right, there is the doer, the writer, and there is the pen, the instrument, right? And that which illumines this action is Atma, or the self. Now, let us say I write something wrong, very, very wrong, very, very, inappropriate, very wrong. Now, whose fault is it? Is the fault of the pen? Is the fault of Atma that's illuminating it? Or is it the writer? The writer, right? Let us say now I am writing something very, very, very good. Amazing, very, very good. Amazing. There is Atma illuminating the whole thing. There is the writer and there's the pen. Who will get the credit for this great book? Will the pen get it? Will Atma get it? Writer will get it, right? So the action belongs to the doer. It does not belong to Atma. It belongs to the doer. It does not belong to the instrument. It belongs to the doer. So the action belongs to the doer. So what happens is when I take myself to be the doer, then I have all of these karmic accounts that I carry with me because I take myself to be the doer. So once I take myself to be a doer, it's a heavy burden. I take all my past karma, I take my current karma, I take my future karma, I take that with me and I walk. But what happens to somebody who is wise, who realizes the self, who knows their true nature as Atman, as pure consciousness? They do not take themselves to be the doer. Therefore, that whole sanchita, all the karmas of all the past, all accumulated, all of that is burnt down. All the agami, the future karmas that will take place, that doer is no longer there. That doer is no longer there. All of that burnt down. And what about the prarabdha karma? The karma that has given birth to this body. It's there for the jnani, it's there for the person who has knowledge, but even that doesn't have an effect on the jnani because they don't take themselves to be the doer. So even if something is going, their body is going through something, their mind's going through something, it doesn't really affect them because they don't take themselves to be the doer. So for the one who has realized the past karma, all burnt, no more life, no more coming back. The future karma cannot touch them because there's no doer. There's no doer, right? And the present karma that gives birth to their body, they are unaffected by it because they do not take themselves to be the doer. And therefore, what this knowledge does is it gets rid of the doership. Gets rid of the doership, and that's the way all karmas are burned. Now, there may be a question here that let us say, right? Let us say you take an enlightened being, jnani. Jnani is enlightened being, person who has knowledge. Someone who is performing karma. So doesn't mean because an enlightened person becomes enlightened, they stop acting. They stop acting. Someone is performing karma. Who is performing karma? Who is it? It is called the false ego or badita ahankar. That false ego is performing. So the false ego is performing it. So then does that mean that that false ego gets karma? But it again, that jnani doesn't take themselves to even be that false ego. So whatever karma comes, that jnani is unaffected by it. Then another question might come. Let us say that jnani has a false ego and has been doing so many good things. They've been doing so many good things in their life, but now their body dies. Now, where will those results of actions go? Where will the results of actions go? Because that jnani will not come back. And the jnani did so many good things in their life. Now, where will the good actions go? The results of good actions. So it is said to all those who have worshipped that jnani, all the good actions, the good fruits, results go to them. And all those who criticize the jnani, whatever papa, whatever sinful tendencies, whatever sinful acts they've committed will go to them. What sinful act could a jnani do? Maybe step on an insect or something like that. Who knows, right? So all the good acts that they've done, they go to those who've worshipped them. And we can see that in the life of Puja Gurudev, Swami Chinmayananda Ji, and Swami Tapovan Maharaj Ji. How Chinmaya Mission functions right now is not really because we do anything. It's because of their tapas. It's because of their austerity. It's because of their grace. It's because of their sacrifice. It's not because of us. So that enlightened being, whatever they've done, thousands of people who come after them benefit from that. So this, in brief, is that karma siddhanta, right? So here when we say that just like wood is burnt into ash in a well-kindled fire, all the karmas are burnt for an enlightened being because there is no doer to hold. There's no doer to hold. One more thing I'll tell you is that, you see, in dream, if you lost a lot of money in your dream, when you wake up, what happens? You're still okay, right? You still have a house, you still have everything because you only lost it in dream. Or in your dream, let's say if you won the lottery, and when you wake up, what happens? You're still in the same house because lottery was just in the dream, right? You cannot bring anything from the realm of the dream to the waking. The same way, we cannot bring anything from the realm of illusion to reality. For that Atma, the realm of karma, the realm of doership, the realm of action, all that is illusory. It's illusory. So we cannot bring anything from that realm of illusion to the realm of reality. So therefore, just like that, all the karmas are burnt down for unenlightened being. When here, now, they are ever free. The only way to break free from the karmic cycle is to transcend it. We're not gonna, break free from it doing good karma, because Adi Shankaracharya ji said, even that good karma is papa, even it is sin, because there is doership involved. There's one nice story in Shiva Purana about this. There was one tapasvi, his name was Parnada. He got this name Parnada because he used to do intense tapasya in all seasons, in all weather. He would still continue his tapasya. And, his lifestyle and living became so austere, and he became so friendly with all the animals in the forest that they used to bring fruits for him to eat. And then at one point, he also stopped eating fruits. He started just eating leaves. And so Parna, leaves means Parna, so his name became Parnada. And one day he was trying to cut a blade of grass, and his finger bled. And when his finger bled, it wasn't blood. There was like the sap of plants in his finger. So he didn't have blood, he had like the sap of plants. So he felt like, wow, he's so pure. He's so austere because he's done so much tapasya. And so Lord Shiva said, now this is a problem. Whenever a devotee gets proud, Bhagavan Shiva comes to manifest himself. And he went to speak to this Parnada, and he asked him what happened. He said, I don't know, but I cut my finger and this sap came out. And Bhagavan Shiva said, that's nothing. Do you know that when a tree burns, when wood burns, it becomes nothing, it becomes ash. That is glory. And this person, Lord Shiva didn't reveal himself yet, but in a disguise, what Bhagavan Shiva did is he cut his finger. He cut his finger. And when Lord Shiva cut his finger, what came out was bhasma or ash. And when that happened, Parnada knew that this was Lord Shiva himself, telling him that real austerity is to become nothing, Because even one who thinks they're very austere is still an austere ego. Even one who thinks they're very good and disciplined is still a disciplined ego. But what Bhagavan Shiva wanted was for the ego to go. And that's why he wears bhasma. Bhasma here, bhasma on his hands, on the throat, to remind everybody that become nothing, become like dust. And when we become nothing, when we become like dust, that is true glory. And that's why bhasma is called vibhuti. The glory is to become nothing. And just remain as you are. Bhasma, bhasmasat kute tatha. So this is what knowledge brings to us. It's very, very powerful. Imagine all the karmas of all lives just gone. Because we realize we are not the doer. We are not the enjoyer. We are not the jiva. We have absolutely nothing to do with it. A question will come into your mind. Won't somebody be very, like wanting to do whatever they want, very irresponsible, saying, I'm not the doer, I'm not the enjoyer, I'm not anything. Karma doesn't touch me. I can do whatever I want. This person will not rest. This person will not be peaceful. Huh? This kind of attitude, if somebody has, without the proper sattva, without the proper purity of mind, they will never be able to be relaxed. They will always have guilt, agitation, depression, all kinds of things, because that is fake knowledge. Real knowledge is that I am away from all of this. I am the self. And this real knowledge only blossoms from a divine mind. It cannot blossom from a demonic mind. It can only blossom from a divine mind. That is very, very clear in all of our scriptures. So please don't think that somebody can misuse this knowledge. They can try to misuse it, but they will never get the effect of it. They will end up being highly disturbed. So therefore, now Bhagavan Krishna declares to Arjuna, Arjuna, there is nothing in this world more purifying than knowledge. And this is a very, very famous verse that we hear. So now we are going to verse number 38. Nahi jnanena sadrisham.
Nahi jnanena sadrisham.
Pavitram iha vidyate.
Pavitram iha vidyate.
Tatsvayam yoga samsiddhaha.
Tatsvayam yoga samsiddhaha.
Kalenatmani vindati.
Kalenatmani vindati.
Nahi jnanena sadrisham. Pavitram iha vidyate. Tatsvayam yoga samsiddhaha. Kalenatmani vindati. So Bhagavan Krishna says, Nahi, there is nothing here. Pavitram, pavitram vidyate. There is nothing here purer. Sadrisham jnanena. There is nothing here purer than this knowledge. Tatsvayam. And this knowledge, yoga samsiddhaha, one who has gone through the path of yoga, kalena, in due course of time, atmani vindati, one gains this himself, herself, or one finds this in themselves. So certainly there is no purifier in this world like knowledge. He who is himself perfected in yoga finds it in the self in time. Okay, so what is this verse saying? So first it says, Iha. Let's just look at this word, Iha. Iha means here. Here means amongst all other kinds of spiritual practices. All kinds. Bhakti yoga, Raja yoga, Karma yoga, all spiritual practices. Amongst all of them, there is nothing more purifying than knowledge. Because all of them remove the sin, but knowledge removes the sinner. All of them solve the problems for some time, but knowledge dissolves all of the problems for all time. All of them is like putting Band-Aid on the wound, but knowledge is doing surgery and getting rid of the ahankara. All of them may be cutting the weeds, but knowledge is uprooting. So because of this, knowledge removes the very jiva bhava, the very sense of individuality. Knowledge then is seen as the greatest purifier. Greatest purifier. Nothing is purer than knowledge. But there's a but. Somebody says, nothing is more purifying than knowledge, so let me run towards knowledge. So here now, listen to Adi Shankaracharya. He says that knowledge, tat means that knowledge, jnanam, that knowledge, how is it attained? Kalena. It's attained in time. What takes time? Yoga samsiddhaha. One has to become yoga samsiddhaha to attain this knowledge. What is yoga samsiddhaha? Yogena, karma yogena, samadhi yogena samsiddhaha, samskritaha yogyatam apannaha. Means one has to gain that ability to be able to practice karma yoga first. And when he says samadhi yoga here, he means practices of concentration. Only when one has practiced karma yoga and the practices of concentration here known as samadhi yoga, when one has done this, then kalenatmani, in due course of time, one realizes the true self. So it is true that jnanam is the highest thing, but to get it, there has to be some kind of preparation. Preparation has to take place. So again, it's emphasized that what do we do? What do we do? Do we drop everything and pursue knowledge? No. Do we pursue everything else except for knowledge? No. We stay on the path of knowledge, but keep working on ourselves. This is what we have to do as seekers. Gurudev says, if we want to prove God, what is the best way? Improve yourself. If you want to prove God, improve yourself. Because when we improve ourselves, then we're able to see that divinity manifesting. Now, when we say karma yoga and samadhi yoga, what is also implied and what is also important is alert living. That practice of introspection, the practice of really seeing how we are transforming, the practice of watching ourselves. All of this takes time. And as we become mature and ripe, then we become ready for knowledge. Now, maybe we can start the next verse. Now, Sri Krishna says, I gave you here last time 3 things that you need to gain knowledge, because now he's built up the glory of knowledge so much that we're like, okay, I really need to work on myself. I really need to get this knowledge here and now. And he said 3 things. Approach the teacher with humility, have the proper inquiry, have the proper tuning with the teacher. This is called bahiranga sadhana, external sadhana. But now Sri Krishna is saying, now I want to give you internal sadhana. He wants to give all of us seekers 3 internal sadhanas, internal things we can practice so that we can gain this knowledge in this very life itself. Last time I told you, Adi Shankaracharya ji had said 3 things are the rarest, right? What did I say? Manushyatva means a human birth. Mumukshutvam, burning desire for liberation. And Mahapurusha Samshrayaha, contact, connection, refuge with a spiritual master. If we have these three things, then that means everything's on our side. Everything's on our side. All our stars are right, planets are right, every single thing is on our side. All we need to do is put forth effort, strive, and we will get it. There are some people that they don't have this human body. Some beings don't have human body. Some people have human body, but they're limitations. So limitations, either they're not able to hear, they're not able to listen, they're not able to sit for some time. There's a lot of discomfort that they're not able to take in this knowledge. So some people don't have that. Some people don't have desire for liberation. Some people are all caught up in the world and its glitz and glamour and doing everything else and just immersing themselves in the world. No clue that there's a layer above and beyond this. No clue. And some people have never come in contact with a spiritual teacher or a spiritual teaching, or have ever opened a spiritual book, or some people have never questioned God. But now we have all three. And if we have all three, that means we are blessed. That means we are lucky. That means we have access to Bhagavan's grace. So therefore, Bhagavan Krishna is saying, have all three. Now go a little bit deeper in the sadhana. Develop these three things. And if we develop these three things, then for sure we will gain that knowledge, and for sure we will realize the truth here and now. So what are these three things? Okay, let us see. Let me see how much we can finish. We'll see. 39. Shraddha valabhate jnanam.
Shraddhavan labhate jnanam.
Tatparasayatendriyaha.
Tatparasanyatendriyaha.
Jnanam labdva param shantim.
Jnanam labdhva param shantim.
Achirenadhigacchati.
Achirenadhigacchati.
Shraddhavalabhate jnanam tatparasamyatendriyaha. Jnanam labdva param shantim achirenadhigacchati. This is another very well-known verse. Shraddhavan, the one who has faith, labhate jnanam, gains knowledge. Shraddha, faith. Shraddhavan, the one who has faith, gains knowledge. Who else? Tatparaha, the one who's devoted. Samyatendriyaha, who has subdued their senses. Jnanam labdva, in having gained this knowledge, param shantim adhigacchati, one gains or realizes that param, supreme shantim, supreme peace. Achirena, and not long. Earlier in verse 38, it said preparation takes a long time. But now in verse 39, it's saying illumination takes no time. If we have these three qualities. So first, let us just explore a little bit on Shraddha. What is this Shraddha? This faith is very, very funny, because all of a sudden in the spiritual path, we question too many things. Everything that doesn't even need to be questioned, we question. For every single knowledge, it starts from ignorance. Knowledge doesn't start from knowledge. Knowledge starts from ignorance. And knowledge starts from a place of trust. So when we went to school, when we went to meet our teachers, and they said, okay, this is the tallest mountain, this is the widest river, this is the globe, this is this country, that country. Did we keep asking? Did we keep questioning? There was a certain amount of trust placed on the teacher, saying that you must be qualified to do this. I don't know, I am ignorant right now, and let me place this trust on you for some time, right? So this is what we do with our teachers in class. When we get on an airplane, do we question the pilot? Do you know how to fly a plane? No, nobody questions the pilot. You just get in the plane because we have absolute shraddha, absolute faith that the plane will fly. When an Uber driver, Lyft driver picks you up at home, do you question? No, absolute faith that that person will take us where we need to go. But when it comes to the scriptures, there is so many questions. See, the field of the scriptures is something that we cannot access by our eyes, our ears, our perception. We cannot access even by our mind because it's a field beyond the mind. So the means of knowledge of the scriptures is the Upanishads. And these are the realizations of these masters. And so therefore, when we come to the Upanishads, to the realizations of these masters, just like we start with faith with every other field, every other place, the same faith we put in this scripture, the same faith. And it's not a blind kind of faith, but it's a working faith. It's a very beautiful faith that turns into self-discovery. The shraddha that we're talking about here, the faith that we're talking about here, is a faith that turns into self-discovery, a trust that turns into self-discovery here and now. It's not some blind faith. It's a working faith that allows us to question freely, allows us to inquire, allows us to pursue, and most of all, it allows us to realize it for our own selves. This is the kind of faith that our scriptures are talking about. Now, more of this faith, this shraddha, is a very deep word we will take up next week. Okay? I'll just summarize in brief what we have done today. Please contemplate on these verses, these last verses of chapter 4. They're very important. We had started today, with the glory of this knowledge. Why is this knowledge so glorious? It's so glorious because, number one, even the greatest of the sinners can cross this ocean of sin with this knowledge. Why? Because sin is not a wrong act. Sin here is being a doer, taking ourselves to be the doer of an action. That is called sin. And knowledge removes that doership. And just the way that when we put firewood into fire and it all turns into ashes, in verse 37, we saw, for a jnani, an enlightened being, all karmas are burned into ashes when they gain knowledge, because all karmas belong to the doer. And the jnani realizes that they are not the doer, they are not the enjoyer, and therefore they have nothing to do with that karma. They are unaffected, untouched by that karma. And what is the other glory of knowledge? There is actually nothing purifying, nothing more purifying than knowledge, because it doesn't solve the problem, it dissolves the problem. But to gain this knowledge, one has to be prepared, and that preparation takes time. And if we really want to gain this knowledge, We talked about the 3 external sadhanas. Shri Krishna now is giving us in verse 39 3 internal sadhanas or means. The first of which we saw was faith. So more on faith, F-A-I-T-H, that kind of faith, we will see next week. Let's say the closing prayer. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Before everyone goes, I just have an announcement.